Hello everybody and welcome to a video. Just a little bit of post-editing sort of intro. I had the brilliant pleasure of sitting down with Ben from More Warhammer, talking about his new adventure into competitive Age of Sigmar and about his Skaven army, and generally had a good nerd out with a fellow hobbyist. And I thought, you know what? Rather than sort of edit it down or anything, I'm just going to play the full hour video. So it's here for you to enjoy. All of his links and everything else are in the description below, so please feel free to head over there and show some love to Ben. He is an absolute legend of a guy, and hope you enjoy it. Grab a brew, get comfortable. Yeah, it's really good to actually to geek out and nerd out with a fellow hobbyist. Hello everybody and welcome to another video. So I've got a bit of a special one today. I'm going to be having a sit down with Ben from More Warhammer, not to be confused with the other channel, More Hammer, and we're going to be talking about his first event at Age of Sigmar, where he takes out his lovely rats, and generally having a chit chat about the hobby. So here's Ben, although he is still painting, so we'll get him in. Here he is.
I've stopped painting now. You've got my full attention.
You can still paint. You work.
I'll try and multitask, but men can't do that. So,
so you've had your first Age of Sigmar event. Mm-hmm. How was it?
It was an experience for sure. I was so impressed at, first of all, how it was run. I was also impressed at how friendly everyone was. And I know that's such a cliched thing to say, but I think, you know, I messaged my friends saying that I was going to do an event, and they were all like, "Oh, that's really brave of you. That's really brave of you." And I'm like, I get it, but after being at the event, there's nothing brave about it. Do you know what I mean? Bravery is like, oh, this is a scary thing you've got to go against. There's nothing to be scared of at all. Everyone was really nice. Everyone was really like welcoming. I didn't feel intimidated by anyone. I think that's one of the biggest things about a hobby or a tournament event is that it's can be quite intimidating, but I was not intimidated by anyone there in the best way possible.
Yeah, they are a very welcoming bunch.
They are. So that alone for me was, you know, that was the best thing about it. Just being there and actually doing the thing I've been wanting to do for a long time.
So are you relatively new to Age of Sigmar?
So I got the first release of Sigmar, the Stormcast, and with that box with a friend of mine whenever he broke up with his first girlfriend. That's how we got into it again. I collected since I was about 8 and on and off a lot of the Lord of the Rings stuff. And then, when he broke up, his girlfriend broke up with him. And I was like, you know what would be really good to fill that hole in your heart? Plastic. So, we went back and but this is my, like, I would say I'm more of a hobbyer than a gamer.
Okay.
But those are my first proper games of AOS. With like all the rules. I've been playing stripped back versions of it with my friends.
Yeah.
The 2 weeks before that event, we're talking about this before we started, but I was at Mini Wargaming. That's a trip I make now every year to go over and see my friend who's from here but now lives out in Canada. And then luckily we bumped into Dave whenever we were on our way through that area. I was like, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure the Mini Wargaming is in this area. Let's go try and find it. We found it, bumped into Dave, and we'll be doing that so that was my 3rd year now, going back there. So
I'd love to go to the bunker. That's a pretty impressive setup.
Yeah, they have changed it now. So in the last time I was there, not this previous time, but the previous time before that, you had the full hall, which was, you might have seen the photos of it, and there's just tables upon tables. But now they've changed that into, they're doing they're doing a lot of their own 3D printing. So basically,
Matt's got the forge now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's turned that pretty much that entire room into the forge. So you've got you've still got all their tables downstairs is where they film their battle reports, and then in the kind of canteen area you've got a big table that we were playing on. You could just leave that set up. So I think we got 5 games and then a game of Old World in, which was pretty cool. But this was my first experience of playing with all the rules. Again, I'm playing against people who I'm not trying to teach at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was very cool. Very, very cool.
So, so you run Skaven?
I do. Yes,
Okay.
unexpectedly. Yeah.
Yes.
If you told me that I was going to be running Skaven in AOS, I'd be like, nah.
Yeah, I was the same.
Yeah.
I've doing my zero to hero challenge. You know, take an army, build
Yeah.
it, paint it, and get to the podium, which I've
Nice.
only ever done once. And you've
Yes.
seen the standard of gameplay here in Northern Ireland.
I have.
Um,
I have.
so
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to complete this challenge. But I openly had said to my community, help me pick an army and give them
Mhm.
two options. Allow me to choose an army that I've collected and painted before, which I
Yeah.
had my ideas of what I wanted to do, or unfortunately and mistakenly, I said pick
Or
an army that I've never collected or touched, which kind of scared me when I went through my list of armies I'd done in the video. Of
Mhm.
that, out of all of the Age of Sigmar armies, I've only not collected 6 of them, and I
oh
was like, "Oh, I have a problem,
yeah. Well,
a really big problem." So yeah, I settled on Skaven because rats.
yeah. I mean, the Skaven, like previous to Skaven tides, that box, I
It's a good box.
it is very, very
It's a
good
good
box.
box.
Very good box. I mean, side note to that, the fact that they included all the spearhead stuff in that box was like
Yeah,
such an unexpected, like, oh, this is a really genuinely great box for a lot of people. But that kind of aside, the Skaven, when I looked at them, I was like, these are so cool looking. Like this is way better. Like I had zero expectations, which I think actually helped in this case. But I went in being like, oh, the Stormcast, Stormcast. I knew they were just updating a lot of the kits that were from that original box I got, which
yeah,
was in itself cool because I have all those old models. And just looking at how much the designs come on in what 10 years was so cool.
yeah,
But then I picked up the Skaven and I was like, oh, okay, these are some of the coolest looking models. And I figure that if I, because I'm new to this, I just want to lean into what I think looks fun. And as
yeah,
far as I can tell, again, with my very limited experience, I've played a little bit of 40k, but I had the experience of playing with orcs, both with them and then against them.
yeah.
And I don't think I've ever had a game against orcs or with orcs that I've not enjoyed. They're
Mm,
just fun because they're just so random. And I feel like, to me anyway, I feel like Skaven are kind of on that list. And even from that event in the weekend, everyone came over looking at the Skaven. We're like, Skaven,
yeah.
everyone likes the
Everyone
Skaven.
has a soft spot for them.
Yeah, which is
Um, I,
unexpected completely.
I'm more of an Iron Jaws player. Like I'm very simple. You know, if you give me a picture book, I'm happy. Let me.
So, so this is a
This is a Ben exclusive, everybody. Oh, he has pigs. Lots of pigs. So you're
I have
getting
this,
into.
I have this all just sitting waiting because this was the army I was going to try to run tournaments with and events, but
Well,
because I've not had a chance to paint them yet.
well,
I
I too was originally going to get back into my Iron Jaws.
Yeah.
And bought Hard Boys because the new Hard Boys kit is stunning.
Oh, is it?
And they're busted. I'm just not gonna lie, they are pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, and that was my original plan, was to do the challenge with Iron Jaws.
yeah.
Like I did quite well with Iron Jaws when I ran them a lot. And I'm sure Pete will watch this and will tell me remember to war. I really should remember to war. But if I'd have warred, I would have won the game. And
Oh,
I failed to kill 4 Skaven. 4 Skaven clan rats would ultimately stopped me from winning the game.
no way.
And if I'd have ward, I'd have had the attacks and I'd have been able to kill them. And you know, Pete wouldn't be telling me to war. But so yeah, the Skaven is very much completely opposite to that.
Yeah,
But like I was pleasantly surprised when I got the battle tome and sat down and looked at it, of just the versatile lists that that book has.
that's it.
Like you can go for a crazy shooty army,
Yep.
or
Scry
you can
or
go for a crazy mutated monster army, or you can just go for a pure horde army and kill yourself with painting 200 clan rats,
yeah,
which no
that's
one wants to do. Or you can go for the more elite infantry and have storm vermin, which is, what a classy Skaven player would do.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously.
because they're beautiful models.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
It's like, working on my 10 now. They're
Oh,
so
I
good.
mean, I can't wait to see what you do with them. I mean, from what I've seen of your painting already, it's gonna be a beautiful looking army.
Thank you. I'm trying to keep it as easy as possible because
Yeah.
this is not sort of showing me that like this is going to be a big army, and it's
No,
not
yeah,
like
you're right.
painting 40 Space Marines. This is there's going to be a lot of infantry, and I'm
Yeah.
putting off the clan rats as long as I can because I don't know how I'm going to do them to the way I
Yeah.
want to do them, but in a
Yeah.
timely fashion.
That's yeah. Well,
That's going to be the problem.
I ended up painting all 40 of mine in my head whenever because I did the Skaven type box. I ended up doing a box the board challenge just to
Yeah, watch that video.
yeah. Thank you. And the 40, I was like, right, I'll do them in blocks of 5, and then I started painting 1, and I was like, I'll just do 10. I was like, oh well, may as well just do 15. I ended up doing all 40 of them all in a row, all at the same time, and
Ooh,
it was it was like psychological torture a little bit because I was just painting and being like, okay, cool. I've got, I feel like I've been doing quite a lot here, and I look up and there's still like 27 of them just sitting there with all that.
yeah,
And you're like,
yeah,
I'll be here for a while. So my clan rats are cheap and cheerful, but then the bigger models like Thanquol and the warps here, I do try and spend a bit more time on them just because they're going to be on the board. Well, hopefully they'll be on the board a little bit longer. And
yeah.
yeah, but they're
Ankle's a model that I have to have
oh, I
because
mean,
he's one of the best characters from fantasy. He's awesome. He's the ultimate bad guy.
there you
He's
go.
devious and dastardly, but also really crap. And
I've
his
I've,
plans always fail. But he's
I've
like
heard that.
that's
Yeah,
his charm. That's why he's so good. He's
yep.
your
And is it
typical Saturday morning cartoon villain.
like Scooby Doo esque?
Yeah, it's so good, but yet so bad.
Is it Gotrek that always foils his
Yeah,
plans?
always.
Yeah,
Everyone gets foiled by Gotrek. So
yeah.
glad
Well,
they nerfed him.
yeah. He's That was actually the first model. So my wife got me him for Christmas a couple of years ago, and that was the first model that really gave me a sense of like, oh, here, this painting thing is actually a lot of fun. Because for the longest time, I felt like painting was just a necessary chore to get the models on the board, and
Yeah,
I'm one of these people that I have to have a model painted for me to use it on the board. It's just who I am. That's just what I do. I just like to have it painted.
I can't
So,
do that because it takes me so long to paint a model.
well, that's when you become a speed painter like me and get
I've
using.
tried speed painting. I painted an entire Seraphon army with
Oh,
nothing but contrast paints. And I tried this. I didn't want to do the slap chop thing. I don't like slap
mhm,
chop. It
mhm.
doesn't, I don't think it helps you grow as a painter.
I
I
would
think it
agree. I would
limits you
agree.
in a point.
I
So
would
I
agree.
wanted to approach it from a way where I could go, okay, I want to do speed painting, but I want it to be cool looking and
Yeah.
have a little bit of technique in it. So I use sort of like starting from the lighter shades and working into the dark to create the transitions,
Nice.
using contrast paints for how they're meant to be used.
Mhm.
And it looked really good. I mean, some of my
I was
top
going to say,
videos are from the Seraphon that I've done,
I'm going to be.
and I enjoyed playing the army. I used them
Mhm.
at the last GT last year. Did reasonably well with them. Um, but like my army would just become an army of Agrodon Lancers, and it's not really what I want to play.
Yeah. What
So
would be your choice?
if I was going to be my own choice and of an AOS army straight off the bat, it would be Iron Jaws.
Yeah.
They're simple, they're easy to run. There's no real thinking involved. It's like, right, who am I charging? Who am I smashing? Let's go.
That
You're on an
is.
objective. I'm going to smash you and beat you up.
Yeah. Also, especially now the new model. I mean, the brutes. I remember seeing those brute
Yeah,
models like years ago and being like, that's the quintessential orc to me.
yeah.
And
I'm
yeah, and they still hold up. So how old are
yeah.
those kids? They're 10 years old, are they?
The brutes are brilliant. Make brutes
Yeah.
great again is been my mantra since third
Oh,
edition, second edition. They're just so good models.
I've got
Like
did my test scheme for for them. Again, I'm not entirely settled on it, but there's my like kind
It's
of.
nice.
It's just that mostly dulled down armor with like a little pop of like kind of orangey red, very rusted weaponry. I just wanted to look. I want the green to really pop out, so I figured if I
Yeah,
go dark with the armor,
it works. The reddy browns and the greens are a nice contrast. But
yeah,
I've got your Skaven army here, so
yeah, yep.
haha, technology works.
There we
I
go.
am not a boomer. Right. Hang on, wait there. I need to find the right tab. There we go. So that's your right. See, I don't know what these be. I know there's a Vermin Lord,
Yep.
and there's about 6
There's.
versions of them.
I think there is 5 or 6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm still not too sure which one I should be using.
So this is the Warp Seer. So this is the one I used when I was over at Mini Wargaming.
Yeah,
He looks like he's got a giant scythe.
he's
Like
the magic one, isn't he?
he is indeed, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
he's a nice
Magic
model.
Missing, yeah, is a beautiful model. I mean, all of them look amazing. I like the fact that he has like a strike last ability. So Skaven obviously have their strike last spell, but if it fails, he's also got 4-up strike last if you fight him.
Yeah,
Um,
that's pretty cool.
I just think he looks amazing. Now he hits on 4s though.
Yeah,
Is
and he's a wizard.
Yeah, he hits on 4s, wounds on 2s, rend 2, damage 3, I believe.
Ooh,
When he hits. But I mean, I played with him, as I said, the weekend there, and there's a kind of choice moment where I was like, all right, he's got to spike hard. And
yeah,
I rolled mainly 3s. Didn't have enough to all out attack or anything because Skaven are a very hungry command point army.
yeah.
Well, the AOS 4 seems to just be very command point heavy in general, but
Yeah, there's definitely a better system in place than what it was.
yeah,
Yeah, uh, I like fourth. I am enjoying fourth edition. It's very reactive,
that's it.
which is quite nice. I like the fact that there's no bravery anymore.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
something we always ignored as well.
yeah. It's and I think it's something that 40k kind of needs as well. But that's
Yeah.
an entire different topic. I
Mhm.
do like your warp stone and your rat augurs. That's very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I've played around with the warp stone a few times, like a bunch of different
Yeah,
ways of achieving it, because there is multiple ways you can do it, but
yeah,
I'm just slowly finding the way that it works the best. But the
yeah.
ogres, they were so much fun to paint.
I've got my unit of 3 of them done. They were kind of the first ones out of the starter set that I picked up that I jumped into.
I'm pretty sure I
Um,
might have done the same thing, or maybe I did. I just
they are
remember
nice.
I remember looking at them being like, these are ones, because my friend had the old ones from the
Yeah,
blood. Was it the L? What
the
High
Island
Elf?
of Blood box.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yep. So I bought that, and he took the Skaven side of it. And
Mm,
it was only 2 of them though, I believe. It was 2 of them, and then
there
a
was.
little like prodder guy.
Yeah,
But yeah, those, whenever I saw those again, I was like, well, they nailed that. That's exactly what I think a rat ogre should look like. And
yeah.
then you can just about see the brood horror in the background. The big,
Yeah, I like this model.
yeah,
For me, I look at that and I'm like, I'm going to be there for about 12 hours. Um,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I can have a lot of fun with it.
Well,
And it does look like an absolute beat stick on the table.
it is. It is. It also has one of the abilities that I use quite a lot, which was on a 2-up in the fight phase. You can use. It's like, I think it's like fumes or noxious fumes or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's +1 to your -1 to your any attacks that are coming in against.
Were you running a Master Molder with him?
I didn't. So the list I ran on Sunday was pretty much just what models I had painted that
Yeah.
could get me as close to 2,000 points as possible. They are a lot of fun, although I suck using them. They're like,
I have heard that they're actually quite good.
they are, yeah. They've got like, I think 2 or 3 D6 attacks, hit on 3s, wound on 3s, rend 1, damage 1, and then if they're going into infantry, it's another rend, and if they charge, it's another damage. So they can churn out. They're the only ones I proxied. So I proxied the warp scourgers for rattling guns because I just didn't have the points. But I love those scourgers. I use those a lot at mini wargaming. Popping them out with their warp block galvanier. Was it warp galvanier? One that can basically give them flat 10 shots each once per game.
Yeah.
Hitting on 2s,
I've got the big. Is it the Warp Blaster, the big war machine?
The big.
Yeah, I got my battle tome and then I sort of flicking through, and then
Mhm.
I went round to my local store, which is literally like a 3-minute walk from my house.
Yeah.
Impulse buys are bad when you're so close.
Hey, that's dangerous. Yeah, that's a
It
dangerous
really
proximity.
is. And I walked in, I was like, right, I'm gonna get some Skaven, and they didn't really have any Storm Vermin, which is what I wanted.
Mhm.
And then I seen it, and I was like,
When?
that thing does a lot of shooting, and I have the engineer, which buffs
Mhm.
it. And then I
Mhm.
read the rules and was like, it's 6d6 plus 3 attack. I was like, this is stupid,
It's insane.
absolutely mental. Let's get one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that on the board. I think my army at the moment built is about
Mhm.
1100 points. So
Okay.
it's kind
Yeah.
of like needing to getting to the point now where it's like, right, what big stuff can I bring in to sort of bulk that out? But it's
Yeah.
yeah,
I think Thankwall's a pretty good shout. Thankwall level 2 spellcaster, and he's the only spellcaster that has +1 to his casting,
yeah,
which is pretty big actually in more cases than I realized. But yeah, you're saying like what you're saying about the Skaven is they've got so much diversity. Like reading their battle tome, I was just like, there is so much play in this
yeah.
army, which is all you want. Like Iron Jaws, I agree. Like, I think Iron Jaws are amazing, and I cannot wait to get them on the board.
My only downside with the Iron Jaws is they've gone back into the hard boy spam,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
it's one of the things that initially put me off playing them as much because I like brutes.
hmm
Brutes are cool.
Yep.
Brutes are the AOS model. I didn't really want to buy 75 Black Orcs,
Works.
which
Yeah,
I
yeah.
ended up doing, but it wasn't something I wanted to do.
Gotcha.
And that was one of the main things that kind of sort of made me move away from the army to try other things because it was like, I don't want to be just spamming hard boys. You know, I want to run 3 more crushes because
Oh,
that would be hilarious.
that would be amazing.
Um, but yeah, it's the Iron Jaws are definitely if I'd have not asked that question and was able to do the challenge the way I wanted, it would have been the Iron Jaws straight out the gate.
Yeah.
Um, but the Skaven is going to be different. It's
Yeah,
going to
that's
be
it.
a
Yeah.
definitely interesting army to play.
Yeah, and if you want to go just big, heavy monsters, you can definitely do that. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I've just my wife actually just got me the Hell Pit Abomination,
Ooh.
which I can't wait to paint that thing. It is horrendous looking.
An
Like it is.
airbrush is definitely going to be fun on that.
Yeah, that's exactly. Well, that's what I did for. In fact, the flesh on this guy was mostly airbrushing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I got one for Christmas, so that's speeded up the process on those rat ogres really quickly.
oh, hasn't it? Like airbrushing is one of those things. Someone was like, "Oh, do I need to get one?" I was like, "No, you definitely don't.
No.
You definitely don't." But they do make things much easier. But there's such a steep learning curve
Yeah.
straight out the gates. Like
Yeah.
like it gets blocked once, and you're like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'll just clean it," and then you spend all the time cleaning it, and then you go to sit down again, put some paint into
Yeah.
it, and clogged again. You're like,
My partner got me one for Christmas, and
Mhm.
like I had one years ago
Mhm.
and was okay at using it. It wasn't great. Probably shouldn't have been doing half of what I was doing with it with the isopropyl alcohol and stuff, and not wearing a
Ooh.
mask or being in a ventilated room. Not a clever thing to do, children.
Yeah, yeah,
But I got my new one and I got it out of the box, all excited to play with it, and I couldn't get the PSI to go down.
oh
And
no.
I spent ages trying to work out why is this thing not turning. And I was like, it's saying push, and I was pushing on it, and
Mhm.
nothing was moving. I was like, is it broke? And then I sat there for ages, and then just like pulled at it, and it lifted up, and it turned, and I was like, I am such a dick.
Oh, I think I know. I
I
think
am such a dick.
I think I
Like
might
it's
have
been
one of
pushed
these.
down, obviously, to lock it in place,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I didn't. And I thought it was like the old child safety caps on medicine bottles that you had to push
Alcohol.
to turn it. Like, why will this not? And yeah, I was like, and she just come in looking at me like, really? Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
blonde moment.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, it's it is a. an interesting. I think it does come with it's an entire new skill set,
100%.
an approach to painting. I don't necessarily think it's a cheating. I'd laugh when people come out with like, "Oh, you're cheating." It's like, really,
Yeah.
is there a way of cheating when you're potentially painting? Um,
I was like, well, and it's like someone said to me, in one of my videos, one of the comments was something along those lines, like you didn't do it properly, you didn't do this. I was like, sorry, I'll just wait for the Warhammer police to come and arrest me for this heinous act that I'll stand at the front door and be like, oh wait, they don't exist.
yeah, yeah,
Off you.
it's my army. I'll paint it the way I want. Go
Yeah,
away. It's
exactly.
yeah,
That is the
it's
funniest
like yeah,
thing that I find. Again, I don't get a huge amount of it. I'm expecting to get, obviously it'll probably get worse as the channel keeps going. But if any grown adult tells me that I'm doing my hobby wrong, then I feel sorry for that individual.
yeah. It's I don't get the mentality.
No.
Like I like painting in the studio style, the heavy metal style.
Yep.
It's I enjoy edge highlighting. It's kind of
Mhm.
cathartic. It's
No,
nice to be lost in the moment.
I
But
agree.
I understand that, speed painting is beneficial. I did learn a lot from doing the Seraphon army,
Oh, yeah.
and little sort of tricks of cutting corners but still getting a good result.
Yeah,
And it's I think every project you do, you should learn something from it.
definitely.
If you're painting just for painting's sake, then I think that's when it's kind of like, is there a point of doing that side of the hobby?
Yeah,
Just
no, I
commission
agree.
it out.
Yeah. Just get someone else
Yeah,
who's
just
very, very good at it. And
but
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
I think, I think there has to be an aspect where you do learn, and
yep.
I think every day is a learning day when it comes to painting.
Well, I mean, that's people saying like, "Oh, I don't know how you paint that much. I don't know how you paint that much." Or I don't. I mean, even when it comes to training as well, I've been training for 20 years, and people are, "Oh, I don't know how you do that." I'm like, the process is the part I enjoy the most. The idea that
Yeah,
I still have my first ever orc model that I painted when I was 9. Maybe it was from the box. I think it was maybe third or fourth edition of Fantasy. It was the orcs and the Bretonians. They had the cannon,
yeah,
and I still have that orc upstairs, like he's sitting on in my Warhammer room on the top shelf because I loved looking at that. And then I've got Gotrek beside him, which is one of the models that taught me, hey, I can actually paint. This is actually a skill that I can get better at. And I just love looking at that, the difference between that model and then the models I'm working on now, and seeing that visual progress. That to me that's a huge part of my enjoyment of just seeing that I'm getting steadily better. And again, better is a relative term, but I can see there's a growth in what I'm doing, and I
yeah,
think it's the most enjoyable thing for me. Like that's enjoying the process. Like even working on this guy right now, the decision making I made for making the skin was just one I kind of made on a whim, and that's kind of the
mhm.
part I enjoy. Of just like, hey, I'm going to try this, and
Yeah. That's one of the things I've always tried to teach people is like, don't be afraid of trying something. It's
yeah,
only paint. You can strip it,
you can take
if
it
at
off.
worst, and start again. Um, and also don't. I regret not having any of my old stuff because I would love to look back on it. And I'm notorious for painting stuff and then either not finishing the project and just offloading it and moving on to something else.
Yeah,
And that's kind of what I'm trying to break with the Skaven is like, I've committed to collecting and painting this army for fourth edition.
yep.
So I'm pretty much stuck with it now for 2 years at the minimum.
At minimum, yeah, I was going to say
At the
minimum. Yeah.
minimum. So, and that's like, for anybody that knows me will laugh at that because
Mhm.
like, I can go through several armies in addition quite easily.
Same.
And I guess probably why I struggle when it comes to the competitive side because I'm not playing the army enough.
Just reps.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And reps are massively important.
I
So
can, I can, I can attest to that for
yeah.
sure. Like,
So what was your first army or what was round one?
so it was a guy, Brendan, who was running Iron Jaws.
Which is, yeah,
Yep.
it's, yep, young
And
Brendan. Was it Brendan Senior or young Brendan?
young Brendan, and
Ah, yes.
he had his little brother as well there.
Yeah,
Very, very nice guy, like genuinely really nice guy. He also played Skaven, so he was able to help me out with a couple little things just to
he
speed up the
does.
game. But yeah, he was running off the top of my head. He had 40 Ard boys.
Yeah, pretty
He had
standard.
10 brutes, 6 brute ragers,
Uh-huh.
an Ard boy boss, boss rock tar, their war drum or war chanter, and then a weird knob, and I think and then he had the big pig.
Yeah.
That was a baptism of fire or iron. In that case, he just rushed the entire board, and I'll be honest, like I'm not used to playing it for time, if that makes sense. Like that was the biggest
Yeah.
change for me, is going from playing casually with my friends or my wife or whatever to then having a strict-ish time limit. I know it's 3 hours, but most of my games are lasting quite a bit more than that because we usually like take full breaks and then get some food, and so that was the biggest adjustment for me. So just almost that adjustment was enough for me to make some like panic moves. Like I did a bunch of stuff in the first game. I was like, why did I even do that? Like, what was I doing? I felt like I just needed to move something and do something.
Yeah.
So sometimes just moving a model and doing something. Like, for example, I used my Grace here, and for some reason, I didn't cast the Bell spell, which is like Skaven's best spell. That endless spell is
A
insane.
cheat sheet might be handy.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, a cheat sheet probably would be handy.
that's what I'm going to do next time, because I was trying to get all my models ready for the event.
Yeah.
Because I thought, again, this is my first ever event. I thought you had to have all your models painted. Turned up first.
Normally, I think normally for one day as Pete waivers it.
Yeah,
The 2 days they're very strict on everything has to be like painted,
for sure. Yeah,
which is fine. I mean, it keeps that hobby standard at the
yeah,
event for 2 days,
I agree.
and it stops people from just rocking up with partly built models that no one knows what it is.
Which is
Um,
difficult. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, so I spent, next time if I do it, but that was the biggest thing I would say that I struggled with, is just the speed of it. But there's things I can do which will help that in the future, as in know my army. Everyone I
yeah,
played against didn't look at their rules a single time, like not even once. And it
yeah,
only dawned on me as I was driving home. I was like, wait a minute, none of those guys looked at any. They knew everything off by heart. So there's no reason why I couldn't get to that level if I just keep playing not the exact same list, but fairly similar lists. Eventually I'll know exactly what a rat ogre does, and I'll know exactly what.
yeah. I've generally found that, and I found this when I was running Iron Jaws,
Mhm.
and that was probably the army I've run the longest.
Yeah.
Is that I specifically would pick a list, and that's the list I would run for at least the next 10 games.
Oh,
And I kind of have done the same approach with getting back into Warhammer 40k.
yeah.
I specifically played nothing but the Gladius task force for my
Yeah. Yeah.
Marines.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once you start playing it, you're like, right, now this is where I need to do this stratagem, this is what I need to do. And you
That's
kind
it.
of just get into the motion of doing it. With AOS, it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
It's and they've kind of both games have obviously now shared similar sort of army construction.
Mhm.
So you can kind of sort of do that where you've got that one. I don't even know what they're called in Age of Sigmar. They're not battle detachments, battle forces or something. Similar
Regiments.
thing. You get your
Regiments.
little you get your little rule, your
Yeah.
little army rule,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just
So
run that and just get the games in with it,
yeah.
and then start like swapping things out when you're more comfortable with it.
Yeah. And I think that's, with I wanted to run Molder because I got to run, obviously when I was playing at Mini Wargaming, they had every model that I
Yeah,
could have used. So it's just about now getting as close to that list I was running at Mini Wargaming as possible. But I said that's something I definitely would try to put a lot more effort into. Is just I thought I knew my army, but I don't. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't. Not compared to those guys. And
it's scary that they know your army better than you do. That's
100%.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
which for me as a beginner worked really well, because I was like, hey, I'm just going to do this. Is this how I've been? Is this how to interpret this? This is what I've been making of it. And they're like, yeah, no, that's spot on. Or no, you can't do that. This is how it works. So that was a great,
Pete's probably the best person to speak to when it comes to the rules.
yeah.
If you don't understand the wording of it and you're interpreting it slightly different, yeah,
Mhm.
just fire Pete a message and say, "Yo, how am I reading this right?"
Is
And
this
he'll
how?
be like, straight away, "No, this is how the rule works."
Gotcha.
Like he
Teach
is literally my go-to when it comes to, because GW can write rules a little bit ambiguously sometimes, and you're like, "Can
Yeah,
I do that?" And you just
yeah.
yeah, speed of
It's
Pete.
yeah. I
Big
like.
Pete Pratt, he's the encyclopedia when it comes to the rules.
I was going to say I'm
Um,
keen to pick his
he's
brain
very,
on a
very
few
good.
things. Yeah.
Very, very good player.
So,
So what was your second round two?
so second was against Emmett, who was running
Soul Blight?
Soulblight Overlords. Yeah, that was, and this is not, saying anything about the other two guys I played. I had so much fun playing Emmett.
Emmett's a really, really nice guy.
I'm not, and
Yeah.
that's not me saying that anyone else wasn't. They were, but he was just that. I enjoyed that game so much. That was also a 48-50 game.
So what was the score for round one? Or was it that
I
bad?
think it was 22-50 or
That's not too
49,
bad. Oh, you got
22,
22
49 maybe.
points.
Yeah, I mean, the first round I got straight 10 points,
It's not bad.
which I was happy with. And then the second round, I think I've got it all on my phone, not all the stats and stuff, but
Yeah.
I think I was going for something, and I think like one roll stopped me from getting it. So I think then once that happened, and then once he just kind of clogged me up in the middle of the field, he was just wrecking things. And then just simple things like that I didn't know as a player, like how pile-ins work and how the combat range is 3 inches. So even though I was screening, I was like, hey, I'm screening stuff. I'm doing well. He was like, no, I can still tag that. And he did. I was like, cool.
Brendan is notoriously really good at that. I played him um, at an event, and I was running Gotrek, and this was in third edition when Gotrek was stupid,
Oh, I love Godric.
and
Yeah.
he literally shot me with a harpoon, so I couldn't pile in,
No way.
and then hit Gotrek, but deliberately stayed outside of the 2-inch range, so he could fight with his 3-inch range,
Oh,
but
no.
Gotrek couldn't pile in and fight. And then also meant that I couldn't, at the end of the fight phase, pile in and fight again.
Yeah.
And he just completely and utterly just shut Gotrek
Shut him
down
down.
for a round, and I was raging. It was such an amazing move that he did, and I was just like,
Yeah, you can't get
"What?"
angry, but at the same time, you're
Like,
fuming.
yeah, it was such, and I completely didn't realize those harpoons did that, and I was just like, that was next level. That was
Yeah.
so genius that the way he did it. And we both like talked about it at the end, and like if I'd have got Gotrek into your lines, it
Game
was GG for you. He would have just carved through your army like hot knife through butter, but
over.
he just shut him down, and then obviously he just
Just kind
kept
of
me there. And I couldn't, every
took your
time it
time.
was his turn, he just shot him, and I was like, "Stop shooting him!"
Stop shooting me. He's already dead.
No, I think I was left with literally just Gotrek because he didn't need to worry about him because he was
Pinned
just
down.
tagged, couldn't pile in, couldn't do nothing,
4 inch
just sat
range as
there.
well.
It's
Is
just
not
like
exactly.
this is
Yeah.
just, and if I retreated, he'd shoot me again, so I wasn't able to pile back in, and it was just yeah, very very clever.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a good player.
He is very good.
He's
No, but the Soul Blight, it was a great game. He was running uh, two units of Dire Wolves,
yeah,
10-man block of Blood Knights, which was amazing looking. Just seeing that on the field was beautiful. He had 6-unit Vargeists. Is that the winged ones? I'm
yeah.
pretty sure. Unit of 6 of them. He had a Vampire Lord. I think it might have been the named one. Is it Vordry?
I can't wait for his new model.
Oh, yeah. That. Oh, but he had a proxied one, and it looked insane as well.
Yeah,
and then he had Lucavi, and then a Vengorian Lord. I think that's it.
The half vampire, half
Bat
dragon. Yeah.
dragon thing. Yeah, yeah. He had one of each of those. But that was, I think that was the best match I played. I think who you play and their demeanor can really change a game for you. Like he was very relaxed. He was like, "This is what this does. This is what this does," and he could tell that I was new to it, and that immediately settled me into the game where I wasn't making those decisions
Yeah.
under pressure. We did have to kind of speed through the rest of the game because we were just chatting and enjoying ourselves. But
Standard.
yeah, I mean that's a big part of why I enjoyed the game so much, because it was bantering and having a bit of fun. And if he does, the one thing I always try and do that is, just for my own sake, because it can get frustrating, especially when you're playing a game that's all down to dice. Doesn't matter how well you think things out, and no matter how well you plan, you're at the mercy of the dice at the end of the day. And the one thing I've tried to always maintain is like, get excited for the person you're playing against if something goes well for them.
Yeah.
Like when he rolled hot, I was like, that's a really good, like that. It sounds so simple, but to me, that's a really important part of the game, because you can see people getting very, very salty. I felt it, like internally, you're like, I swear he's made a like a pact with those dice god. He's doing something wrong, but if you can just take that out and be like, hey, look, you know what? That's an amazing roll. That if I got that roll, I'd be absolutely pumped. But you got it, and fair play to you. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that game. That was a very, very close one. We had and that was where I learned how good the bell is for Skaven. Their endless bell. He could not get rid of that thing. Like in the middle of the board, just debuffing all his wounds.
I'm pretty sure Emmett's run Skaven before.
He has.
I'm pretty sure one of his armies was Skaven.
Yeah, because he was again able to kind of help me as such and be like, yeah, you can do this, or I didn't need too much help, because I did try and do my due diligence in terms of like learning the army and being a good opponent. But at the same time, it's nice having someone who's like, no, yeah, you can do that. That's something you can 100% do there. That's what I would do in this situation. Or it was cool. It was for me, obviously being quite new to it, I just try to play with as much intent as possible, of like, look, I'm moving this over here with the intent of doing this, because I'm not at a point where I can trick people. I feel like playing against me, if you're an experienced player, is probably like playing.
I don't like the gotcha moments. I think it's a bit, it's not nice.
Nobody benefits from it. I don't think anyone benefits from it.
Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't really call them gotcha moments. I've had games where I've not fully understood what I'm about to go up against, and it's happened, and I'm like, huh? How is that? What? And then it's like, all right, okay, fine, fair. But it's just trying to get a workaround about it.
Yeah, and that's that was part of what playing against Brendan with his irons. He clearly knows them like the back of his hand. So
yeah,
I was doing all this stuff, and he'd be like, "Well, I can still do that," and I was like, "Oh." Whereas during my game with Emmett, he was like, "Look, if you do this, I'm going to do that, just so you know." And that to me is like, that allows me to enjoy the game more, because it's not my opponent's just trying to beat me into a pulp. Like, we're both there to have fun. And I don't know about you, but there's been games where I've left. I played quite a bit of Tyranids in 10th. And there'd be games I'd play, and I would literally leave, and I'd be like, why am I playing this? Like, why am I playing this game? Like, that was not a fun game. That wasn't enjoyable for me. Like, and I
think that's why I stopped playing cities at the start of 4th, because I just wasn't feeling them. They changed the army so much from 3rd to 4th. I didn't agree with a lot of the changes they made.
Mm-hmm. Are we the same person? Because we clearly I have a full cities army that I was like, I'm going to run these, and then I played them. I was like, it's like playing Imperial Guard in 40k, which
I was getting like the old sort of medieval vibes from 3rd edition. I had cavalry. I'm literally playing the new model army here. I've got my cavalry, I've got my guns, I've got my pikemen, I've got my heroes, my characters. This army flicks my switches. Yeah. And I really enjoyed him in 3rd edition, and then 4th come out, and I'm like, what have you done to my army? Like, why? Like
Yeah,
Fusiliers don't work anymore. They're gimped by their own rules. What have you done? And it just become really frustrating to play.
yeah,
And it was like, I don't want my cavalry to be a screen. They should be on the flank, smashing into people.
yeah. So
Yeah, so I reluctantly got rid of them. Apart from my big chimera, which is in my cabinet behind me, you can kind of just see her above my head.
oh,
Like
Talia.
that, yeah, she's staying because that's just a beautiful model.
I'm
Um,
I, she was the next one on my painting, and then I played them a bunch of times, and I was like,
and she sucks.
I don't. Yeah, she's not amazing, is she? I was very.
Beautiful model, but she just is not. I'm really hoping when the Battle Tome comes out that they really fix that army.
Yeah, I mean every battle report I've seen with cities, they're not running any of the new models. Very few of them. It's always
Yeah.
thunders and more thunders and
Well,
like,
it's clear that the dwarf side of the army's gone. Like they're going to back to the old world. That they're not going to be in this new tome. The Dark Elves probably because they don't have a home in the old world. But
Mhm.
it's kind of like, what are they replacing all of this with?
Yeah, I'm curious. Do you think they will re?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a big next wave of them because they kind of have to. Like all that dwarf stuff is gone back to the old world.
Yeah, true. Yeah, yeah,
Like
actually, yeah,
so, it's like the Imperial Griffin, the big battle chicken. That's gone back to the old world. Is that going to still be allowed to be used in AOS?
yeah, true.
Um, you know that army is such a weird place right now that if you're a Cities of Sigmar player, I one hats off to you for sticking with them.
Yeah,
But you are probably in for a really fun time in fourth edition when they get the new book.
yeah. That's what I'm hoping
Um,
for. That's what I'm really hoping for because that was my. I just think that they just, as you said earlier, they tickle me exactly how I
yeah,
want
it,
them to
it's
tickle. I looked at them and was like, that is so cool.
yeah,
And
it's
also,
like
a part of it that I really enjoy is, we're obviously playing this game for a level of immersion, which is what we're
yeah,
kind of alluding with having like the entire army painted. I love that level of immersion where you can get down and you can kind of look at what's going on and almost in your head be like, okay, I can imagine what's going on here. Whereas like with the cities of Sigmar, the thing I love about it, and I've said this to a couple of people, it puts everything into perspective for you as a person. Like when you see this thing, you're like, oh, that's a big model. But then when you put a human
yeah,
beside it, you're like, okay, that
yeah,
that now gives it a sense of scale. And I don't know. For me, that just is a very cool aspect of it. Just
yeah.
as a guy.
For me, I had my Cavaliers. I painted each one individual, so they all had their own heraldry.
Oh, dude, I need to
And I
see.
was like, this because for me, this is kind of how they would have worked. They are the nobility of the army.
Yeah, yeah, nice.
Not,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
necessarily that there are nobles. They are
Oh,
basically just slightly richer than the steel
yeah,
helms,
they go for the
and
horses.
they're
Yeah.
not stupid to carry a blast powder weapon.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so I was like, right, each one give them their own, and I had a lot of fun doing that. And it was like I really have a lot of fun with the painting aspect here.
Yeah.
And then fourth edition rolled, and they made them hit on fours and wound on fours, and I'm
Yeah.
like, why?
Come on, like
Why are you doing this to my army?
I know.
But yeah, I'm not going to get over it. So if GW do watch this, fix it.
Please
Make
fix,
them hit on threes again.
please fix our most beautiful boys.
Yeah, they are beautiful miniatures.
They are like there's. I showed them to one of my friends who's a 40K player through and through. Like he not even a little bit of curiosity, and he was just like, they are
Yeah,
absolutely stunning. Those models are incredible. Um, so yeah, hopefully they get the treatment they deserve soon. But
yeah. If
from
they,
if fourth edition's anything to go by, I think it's going to be probably a copy and paste.
oh, I
Unfortunately,
do hope not.
I
I
really
do
hope not.
hope not.
I really, really,
That's
really for that. Like, I get it. For some armies, it just kind of makes sense to keep it, fairly simple. But I think a copy and paste for City of Sigmar would be that'd be heartbreaking.
yeah, because that like I think even watching any of the other content creators when they've talked about them and gone into the breakdown of the army, they've all come out and said the cities are in in a die. I mean,
Yeah.
as an example, did you see any Cities players at the one day?
No.
And that's kind of sad.
It is, because you want to see
Kinda
as
sad.
many. I mean, that's kind of part of what is fun playing against people you don't usually play against. Is you get to see armies you've never seen.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, that was a part of the excitement of going to that event, of being like, oh, I can't wait to see what other people's armies look like and how they've built them. And obviously, I know how much time I put into my army. I just want to see what other people have done with theirs. And it is cool seeing quite a vast offering of what people have been working on. But yeah, when it's the same armies every single time, it's kind of like, oh, okay. Be nice to see
Well,
something.
generally competitive scene, you're gonna see that. Like the stronger armies are always gonna like make a showing
Top.
in a big way.
Yeah.
Or you could just be like Dean and play Deepkin and not actually bring Deepkin.
Yeah. I actually didn't know what army it was until I saw the ship, and I was like, oh, so he's playing Deepkin.
Yeah, I don't know how he's done that. I didn't really see his list, but yeah, I seen the photo in the Discord and I was like, is that what is that? Oh, it's a
Yeah.
Deepkin army.
I don't even know
Where does he get the Griffin? What? Yeah, but that's what Dean does. He breaks the game.
He does, yeah.
So who did you get in round 3?
Craig. So Craig, I think Solomon's dad.
Ah, yes. So you didn't get Solomon.
No.
Yeah.
I think that might have been a good thing, because from what we were saying, he is a very
he's brilliant. He just plays the game on a whole different level. It's insane.
I'm looking forward.
But you do learn a lot just by watching. Just by watching him play, it's very, very, very like his understanding of the rules is just next level.
That's cool. I like that. I appreciate that.
But yeah, so you play. So what was Craig running?
Craig was running Flesh Eater Courts.
Okay.
He was running Usharan. 2 of their hero models, I can't remember their name, but one was a priest, one was a wizard.
Okay.
He had 2 Warcry units on each flank. The ones that had like the baboon, like gibbon looking things.
Yeah.
He had a unit of 40 Crypt Ghouls, and then I think it was 15 Morbag Knights. Yeah. He went, yeah, I'm just practicing this list for Worlds. And I was like, sorry? And he's just like, for Worlds? And I was like, this is my third game, mate. And he's just like, well, I'm going to stomp you then. And I was like, well, yeah. Like, if you don't, I'd be amazed. But that was
for anyone's watching this, for context, Northern Ireland has a relatively small Age of Sigmar scene, and at Exploding Dice is where the vast majority of events are played. But it's kind of a curse and a blessing at the same time. The vast majority of the Six Nation team members and world players play at these events. So that's kind of what you're coming up against on a regular basis. So you either kind of embrace that or get beat on your first game so you never go anywhere near them and just have a giggle.
Yeah,
but they are a bunch of super nice guys, and they will genuinely. And I would imagine Craig probably pointed out things that you were doing wrong every now and again to give you a hand. Yeah,
he definitely did. Yeah, he was very, very helpful in that regard. He was like, look, if you do this, then I'm just going to do that.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to not do that. And he was helping you get the Seize the Center. He said, oh, if you'd maybe pick this instead of this. Yeah. So he was very helpful. He just stomped me though.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's an educational stomping.
It is, yeah. So it's character building. I'm going to teach you, but you're going to learn.
Yeah. The game's over by turn 2. We can have a brew and chat about it afterwards. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly
some of the best games, to be fair.
I did end up being that one was 32-50, so I was quite happy with that. I do think we kind of played it out, because I was like there's nothing I can do here. You've taken out everything that I have any real attempt at getting the game back with. You've taken that all out. That's gone. Let's just see how this would have gone. He was quite complimentary in terms of like, you would have got this and you would have got that, and I was like,
would I?
No, I don't know. I don't think that would have. But okay, I'll if you say I would, then that's fine. I'll take your word on it. You know more.
Yeah.
No, he was a good opponent as well. But yeah, it was very obvious there was such a skill gap, and well, not even just experience. Like they had so much experience over me, and but again, you can't get experience without getting experience. So I got to play those people.
I think it's cool that you got to your first event, and it's awesome that you have that positive view of it, because I do see constantly on YouTube of like, oh, competitive scene is so intimidating and off-putting, and it's like I would say the vast majority of my Age of Sigmar playing is at events. And I love it. It's great crack. It's it's fun.
It is.
Some of your best games you have are against people that you've never met before, and like the stakes are high. Like you could be vying for like a podium finish and into the last round, and it's really stressful, but you're still having a giggle while you're doing it.
Yeah,
Or you're just like, I don't care. I'm in the bottom half of the table. I'm just going to throw dice and have fun.
Well, that was my approach. Like I was like, look, me getting here is that's my win. Like I was like, look, if I can just get to an event, I'm happy. If I perform well, that will be a surprise, but a welcome one. But I was not expecting to play, competitively. I was just there to learn how to play the actual game, and that was my entire goal. It's just like, look, show up, say that I've done it, because there's no point in, like you were saying, people say it's intimidating. Go and find out, and then come back and have an opinion.
Like, so I think the big question is, are you coming back for another one?
Yeah, 100%.
Brilliant.
Like 100%. I think the parts that I didn't enjoy as much, I have complete control on changing that myself, as in learning my army, bringing a better list. Even, I was saying that to one of my friends about it. I was saying, this next time I play, I'm going to bring a much more condensed list, like maybe reinforce a couple of units, so I'm not having to look back at all the scrolls and be like, okay, so that's what he hits on, this is what he, I could reinforce like a unit of rat ogres. I know what rat ogres do now because I've used them so many times. There's a lot of little things I think I could do that would allow me to enjoy the game a lot more. And I think that's why I enjoyed the game with Emmett so much, is because I was actually focusing on the game rather than just trying to remember my rules. So I learn my rules, I'll be able to enjoy the game more. If I enjoy the game more, I'll be able to actually participate more. And I'm definitely going to come back. Like,
happy days.
And I've managed
when I finally get the Skaven on the table, I'll grudge you for round one.
I will love to do that. Skaven on Skaven.
100%.
If there's anything more Skaven, if there's anything more Skaven, is that like
needs to be done.
100%.
100% needs to be done. But it's good that you had a positive experience, because that's kind of what you want. a new players coming into it is always good. One, it's really good for the team guys to play people. And yes, that can sound intimidating to a new player coming in, but they're really not. Yes, they play at such a high level, but they're not bad people.
No.
They will help you, they will coach you, and you'll learn a lot about the game just by playing it.
Well, that's it. Like that's the most important. What you've just said there is exactly right. Like you're playing against some of the best people to play against, because they know it so much that they can help you out like massively. I'm going to learn a hell of a lot more playing them than I would be just some random person who has the same level of experience as me. Like that's no,
it's funny. Like I always remember a game that I played against Pete. I think I was running my. I think it was running my Iron Jaws, or I was running a very close combat army, and he was playing Gits, and I was like, right, I'm going to charge you, and he just giggled at me, and I'm like, do I really want to charge you? What have you got cooking? And he's like, I can't say.
Was it Fnatic?
No, he had a load of netters. I was literally like minus a million to my hit. So he's just like, you're not going to do anything. You're just going to bounce. And I did. And he just then lifted me. But it was just the way he did it. It was like, I'm going to teach you a valuable lesson here, Rick. Like, you need to stop charging turn one. You need to.
Player. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, you need to sort of just not just go in for the charge straight away.
Yeah,
And yeah, it was just the little giggle he did when I was like, I'm charging it. I was like, yeah, that's not a good giggle. That's a bad giggle.
that's it.
That's a bad giggle for me. I'm about to lose models, but I'm
Yeah.
charging anyway. Let's do it.
Yeah, well, that's it. You're like, look, I know what's about to happen here. Well, I don't, but I have a feeling I know what's
Yeah,
going to happen, and I'm just
but
going to
that's
do it.
this is the kind of guys they are. So yeah,
Yeah,
if you are new to playing events, and
I
you've
would
not
highly
played
recommend.
one, definitely go to one.
No,
Get involved.
couldn't recommend Exploding Dice anymore as well. Like Pete ran a great game. Everyone there was really nice. If you're from Northern Ireland,
It's a quality venue as well.
it is. Yeah, everything was well set up. Everything was well stocked. It wasn't cold. It wasn't too warm. It was, which sounds
Like you,
ridiculous. Like that's a big part of it. Just being comfortable.
yeah, it's a really nice venue.
It is. It is. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm working to get a new molder list. What way are you running your rats? Don't know yet.
I don't know. I don't know. I kind of want to do the molder because I think the master molders with the big monsters seem so funny, but then I like the stupid shooting. It's like
Scryer.
I'm just gonna roll a million dice and kill myself while doing it. Just seems so fun. But then I also really love Storm Vermin, so I'm probably gonna try to build a list of sort of at least dabbling in 3 parts
Mhm.
rather than fully focusing on
Heavy
one
one.
clan.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think over the course of the 2 years, I'll definitely have a pure Molder list by the end of it because it just seems so funny.
I'm looking forward to
Uh,
hearing how you run it because obviously you have a lot more experience than I do, so it'd be interesting to see how you structure your list, how you build your army out, and that'll be fun.
it'll be anything that hurts and hits hard. Um,
Blue Horde.
I'll play giant rats like they're iron jaws.
Perfect.
So that's my theory with it. Might
Yeah.
not work, but hey, who cares? I'll be having a giggle while I'm
I
doing
was
it.
going to say, are you having
It's,
fun? Then yes, it
it's
did
yeah,
work. Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was cool chat, dude. Thank
I
you very
appreciate
much for
it.
coming on, man.
No, it's my pleasure.
And we will definitely have to get a game.
Oh, dude, yeah, 100%. I'm looking forward
Definitely
to it.
have to get a game, and I 100% grudging you when we're at the next event together. It's definitely
Perfect.
happening.
Perfect.
And yeah, and I imagine there's many photos. Although I haven't seen many photos from Emmett, so I'm actually shocked.
Yeah, he posted a few. Is he usually the photo guy? Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's 100% the photo guy.
Yeah.
You often see him floating around the venue with the camera out, taking a million photos. So I'm
That's
actually surprised. You must have kept him engaged.
I was going to
Not
say that. I feel like that might have
yeah,
been my fault then because
yeah.
we
It's
were
all your
right in the
fault, Ben.
middle there. So
So everyone missed out on all the photos.
that's sorry, sorry, but not really because I had a great game. So yeah,
So I'll put all the links to your stuff in
Mhm.
the description below.
Appreciate that.
Obviously, for anyone who's watching, definitely check out Ben's channel. He does lots of cool videos where he's a madman and paints full boxes of stuff because
Yeah,
he's crazy, mental.
yeah. The Lord of the Rings one did break me though. I'm not going to lie. Like that
It's because they're ickle.
they are. Oh my word, building them. Oh, it was painful. You had to glue their faces on, dude.
Really?
You have to glue their face and their helmet as one. It's like a locking system. Every single one of them. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I missed
that
the
doesn't
old
sound
ones
fun.
when I was a kid, where it was just like
A
click,
metal model.
stick, done. Like that was
Yeah,
me. Yeah, but
yeah. Beautiful kits, beautiful models. I'd
oh,
love to get into Lord of the Rings. Massive Lord of the Rings fan,
same.
and the new edition does sound really good, but it's like I just can't decide on what army to do. There's so
Yeah,
many cool parts of it.
there is, and I've never heard. I mean, from everyone, on the comments and anything I've ever heard, it is a fantastic game system.
Yeah,
But that sort. I mean, I know way too much about Lord of the Rings. Like I have a rule that
same.
if I get talking about the blue wizards, I know I've gone too far. That's my rule. That's my litmus test. If I'm like, oh, I'm starting to talk about the blue wizards, and I can just see everyone else's eyes glazing over. Now you could argue that
I know where you're going to go with that. So yeah, let's not open that kind of worms.
yeah, That's my rule. Once I get to the Blue Wizards, I'm like, I might have gone too far.
Yeah. It's that's a part that we don't want to get into.
No,
But
definitely not.
yeah, but that was brilliant having you on, buddy, and thank you very much. And
I really
yeah,
appreciate it.
go over and follow Ben. Doesn't cost you anything. Hit the subscribe button, ring his bell, and like and comment and all that good stuff. And do the same here, because
Yeah.
would be very nice. And I will see you all in the next one. I have more painting tutorials coming. It's March from McCrag. I will do an ultramarine, but there's Ember's Children coming next week, so enjoy and embrace the pink. That's all I'm going to say. And I will catch you all in the next one. See you later. Bye bye.
Cheers, Rick.